Rick Hale, how are you, sir?
Awesome, maybe even better.
All right.
If I say it, it's bound to be true. So my subconscious brain is listening, and I'm awesome.
Affirmation, baby. Well,
Yeah.
today's topic, all the small things. It might be inspired by a little Blink 182 song, but the reality is it's the small things sometimes in life. We tend to talk a lot about the big things, the big rocks, the big things.
Right.
But today is a little flip on that script. We're going to talk about the small things today. However, did you know, Rick Hale?
Yeah. What are the three most important medical advancements in medicine? Three things that change the world forever in order of importance.
So our little trivia for the week, the three most important medical advances. All right. All right.
Historically, not of
Okay.
late, historically,
Historically.
historically.
Uh, uh,
Just
uh,
stay with us.
yeah.
Doesn't sound interesting, but I promise it is.
All right, there we go. All right, so here's how I want to set this conversation up. So there's this principle of 1% better, right? Like we're always trying to make big leaps, but sometimes the small leaps or the small things compound and really make a big impact on our life. And I was doing some research before our talk today. If you took on the challenge of being 1% better every day, by the end of a calendar year, that compounding effect is 37 times greater than where you started. If you just got 1% better every day. What do you think?
Well, sometimes the big things look like Mount Everest, and small things are just like wake up and put your shoes on and take a step in the right direction. So I love this topic. And as much as there's probably someone in the world that's like, oh gosh, I know all this. This is so rote work. It's typical. It's known information. Yeah, but I would challenge you that known information that's not executed upon becomes trivial pursuit and a waste of time, effort, and energy. So it's the small things, by the way, that also lead to big things. So that's what I heard you say at the opening remark is that, everyone wants the big thing, but if you don't do the small things, it's not coming. So we're going to boil it down and break it down.
Yeah. Well, just a quick comment on your Trivial Pursuit. I always felt like I knew a lot of things until I played that game. And then I
Mm.
realized I don't know as much as I think I know, right? And I think that's a little bit of an analogy of life. We tend to show up thinking we've read all the books, we've gone to all the classes, but it's not necessarily manifesting in our life always.
No. And if you're like me, I'll also find myself watching Jeopardy just to see how much I don't know. Kind
Yeah.
of the same thing.
Same
And
thing. Yeah.
and then I scratch my head. I'm like, I still wouldn't trade even with most of the people on Jeopardy.
Maybe
They've
they
got a
can't.
lot of knowledge, but without application, it's just combustible energy between your ears. So
Yeah.
we're here to help bring some extreme knowledge paired or partnered with executables that might just honestly, the idea is that learning is layered and not linear. And this is just one more layer of reminder of the things that you do that if you did regularly create a different you tomorrow.
Yeah. And in life, just from an analogy perspective, we're always trying to open the door to different things in life. We're looking for that doorway, we're looking for that door. Well, this conversation's not about the door, Rick. It's about the simple hinges that cause the big door to swing open. And that's really what the small things are, right? It's that leverage, it's that compounding effect. And I just can't think of a better way to talk about the 1%, the small things without pulling out the wheel of life, right? Like we know the wheel of life is a age old training tool. Everybody at some point in time, whether in high school or some business class, have probably had this conversation. But the reason it's tried and true over decades is because there's no better way to look at a framework for life. Yep. Than just all the different areas of your life. And I think we should probably pick a few here, Rick, and talk about what are the small things in those categories really look like. And
Yeah.
I'd like to just start it out with health.
Yeah.
Health, I find most people don't rate themselves high on health.
Right.
They wake up and go, I'm aging. Not feeling as like I used to when I was in my 20s. I need to lose a few pounds, or a doctor visit happens and they get unsettling news, right? But the truth is, health doesn't happen in an event. It happens over the course of your life, right? And all the stuff you do compounds to either good or bad in health. And this conversation is really about how do we compound for good, right? So what are small things for you in the health category?
So there's a few things that have moved the needle. And again, this is our personal kind of list of impact points that are small things. So love it if you guys could text us later if there's something we missed that should be on the list. I'd love to learn from you as well. But one is just hydration. It's one of those as a kid. We were talking earlier, and I laughed about how, I hated drinking water as a kid. But at the same time, on a hot summer day, man, I'd grab a nasty hose out of the backyard, and there's a special flavor that comes from a hose that, we've all been there. But on the
Yep.
right day, man, anything's better than nothing. But it was usually ketchup and savior. It was savior water, not, preparatory or like today, I drink a lot of water. In fact, doctors say you should drink half your body weight in ounces every day. So it could be 100 to 150 ounces depending on your weight if you're a full grown man. And but as I drink more water, hydration really is a secret to successful health.
And that's a small thing, right? But
It is.
well, if you're a big man, it's a big thing. But
It is a big thing. And I carry, and then by the way, the executable is I fill up big drinks of water. I'm assuming this is probably 30 ounces or more. And I try to put down four of these a day at
yep,
least.
there you
So it's
go.
omnipresent at my fingertips. That's the key to the small things. Make it omni available and easy, easy button.
Yeah, so I was on a retreat with a gentleman named Nick Waldner. A lot of people know Nick, and he was sharing with me. I said, what is a small thing you do to live into your best version of yourself health wise?" He said, "Look, I do a protein shake every morning, and that's my morning routine." I said, "Well, what's that look like? Are you just buying the ready?" He said, "No, I order from this company, Daily Harvest. They ship it to me. I keep it in my freezer. I throw it in the blender with scoop of protein and almond milk, and that's my morning routine." Well, I took that formula or that model, and I've been doing that for about 9 months, and that compounding effect has made a huge difference on my life just because I don't have to think about it. It's there, ready to go, just like the bowl of cereal when you were a kid. You just pour it and pour the milk in and go, right? And it's been such a big effect for me. The other thing we've made mention on here before, but I walk a mile a day. It's small, it's simple, but the compounding effect of doing that every day has made huge improvements in my health aspect of my wheel of life.
Yeah, that's huge. And I track mine too. And a lot of what I do is either through, Apple has tracking devices on your phone for number of steps, and I just keep an eye on it. I make sure I get at least 5, 6,000. The goal's 10,000. So steps are huge. And two other things I do is intermittent fast, which is tied to, similar to a shake in that you're ingesting only the good stuff and you're avoiding heavyweight stuff early.
Yeah.
But I find that if I don't eat before lunch, I have far more energy. And again, we're not doctors, not prescribing. We're just simply sharing. And that works for me. I'll have a cup of coffee, minimal sugars early in my coffee. And then, man, my body just feels energized. And then when I do eat, I try not to eat a huge first meal.
Yeah. What about wealth, Rick? Health and wealth tend to
Ooh.
be big topics that people always want to be better in, but they're looking for big jumps. What are the small things for wealth,
So
finance?
obviously, if you can create a path to making more money, there's only two ways to have wealth, and it's either make more money or spend less money. And somewhere tied into all of that's a budget and savings. But for me, it comes down to automatic withdrawals from my
Yeah.
account every month. It's like the old adage that if you're going to run a business, pay yourself first, or sometimes you won't get paid, and then you'll build your business model around your salary or your base pay. And the same thing comes true with true for me in building wealth. In that, if that money gets taken out of my account at the beginning of the month before I start addressing all the other opportunities to invest or spend, it's amazing how I wake up at the end of the year with a surplus. And then to your point, that every 10 years, every 7 years, excuse me, at 10%, you should literally double your investment. So there's a compounding nature of time on task over time that it's always fun to look into an account that's been auto populated with funds every month and watch it do its thing when properly invested.
Yeah, and I think like it doesn't matter if you're a teenager putting $5 a week into an account or $20 a week into account, or a business professional putting hundreds or thousands of dollars a month into an investment account. The numbers are irrelevant. The concept is the powerful part, meaning, do you get to a committed daily or a weekly or a monthly investment swipe, if you will, from your bank account? That's the small thing. I do it on a monthly basis, Rick. Um, and then the other thing that I do I try to do it monthly. If I'm transparent and honest, it's probably at least once a quarter. But I focus on my net worth, and I go in and I update my spreadsheet with balances of what I paid off. If my credit card's got more balance on it, I put that on there, and it reminds me that it's a negative effect against a net worth. Um, but at the same time, that's the one number that matters the most in wealth building. And if I keep that as a forefront of just a habit of focusing on net worth, automatically it causes me to focus on it.
Yeah, you inspect what you expect.
Yeah.
And so maybe a challenge would be is your current personal financial statement or your net worth form, whatever form you use, is it documented in writing? And are you taking a look at it regularly? Because if you inspect, you'll probably be inspired to make amendments before you defer, delay, and miss opportunities for that compounding we're talking about.
Yeah, and we've got a template. If anybody reach out, we'll give you a template. It's never a lack of a template. It's more of a lack of effort of doing it, right?
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's jump to business career. What are the small things in a business career aspect of our life that really compound and make a big difference? I'll throw one out. My calendar. I committed to my calendar years ago. And the fact that I commit to my calendar is such a simple thing, but
Hmm.
I time block everything on my calendar, from down to even when I need to have personal time, or when I need to have professional, like high-minded lead generation time. All that is time blocked on a calendar. And that discipline of the calendar is a small thing that creates big results.
Well, it sounds like you also focus on priorities and not to dos.
Yes,
People often use to dos in their calendar, and it's just to some degree busy work. And you probably didn't take into account the 80/20 rule and prioritize the order of application each day to make sure that the 20% gets handled first. Game changer when you knock down big rocks. The rest of the day, you can coast the rest of the day. A
absolutely.
huge bonus. Here's
What would you put down for small things?
So mine really is accountability. At the end of the day, if no one's looking over my shoulder, I find that I tend to get distracted by the noise, and I bet I'm not alone if you're a listener today. So who's holding you accountable to being focused and making sure that your 80/20 rule is honored in your calendar? And then the second level is kind of like that trivial pursuit thing we mentioned earlier. Just because you know it, if you don't do it, it's irrelevant or it doesn't work for you. So making sure that it works for you. And I had a thought too when we always have like a pregame discussion, and it was, what if you or I sat shotgun next to you, like Brett or Rick shows up at your office or your home office, wherever it is that you do your work, and we showed up at 6:30 in the morning or 7, and then we committed to staying there for 12 straight hours. What would that day look like if we, no engagement, no discussion, we just sat quietly and observed? And so I remember thinking that about Gary Keller early on when I was in a mastermind. And man, the type of day I strategized was completely different if Gary Keller were sitting shotgun next to me.
Oh,
So
100%.
maybe use that as as a recalibrator or reset in how you're approaching your day.
For sure, for sure. The other thing I do that's simple is every Sunday I put my 411 together for the week.
Hmm.
And that tends to conquer some of the to-do thought process, meaning you're getting your week organized of all the little things you got to do so you can have that organization so it doesn't get in the way of some of the bigger things that you need to do.
Mm. Why might someone avoid doing that?
Why would someone avoid?
Yeah, why wouldn't you commit time on Sunday night to making sure that you have, as immaculate an approach as possible to not only Monday, but for the entire week in your scheduling and honoring again the 80/20 and the big rocks first?
Look, I think there's a success practice of doing it on Sunday night, right? Like getting ready for the week. Uh, if I'm honest, sometimes I'm on the couch with the laptop on my lap watching a football game or paying attention to some TV show halfway, right? But the truth is, it's the habit of doing it on Sunday night. Therefore, when I hit the road or hit the ground running on Monday, I'm not spending half that day trying to decide what needs to happen that week.
You nailed it. If you don't
Yep.
do it Sunday night or pregame, if every day before you go home, you don't know exactly what you're going to do first thing the following morning, you're going to burn up a few hours figuring out what to do, and then you're going to get distracted by the noise. And
Yeah.
so there's probably no more important approach to winning in business and life than premeditating exactly how you're going to do what you plan to do and when.
Yep. What about mindset or personal growth, Rick? What are the small things that you see make a compounding effect on personal growth or mindset?
Well, I try to purposefully learn. And so if there's an area on the wheel that I feel like I could evolve or develop, I try to lean in and find, quality resources for that. I also did this for years. I try to learn with the mindset of a teacher. And as a business owner and a business leader and someone that wants to show up in my environment and make a difference, if I read a book for the sake of sharing that information later, either in a coaching, consulting, or teaching environment, I tend to absorb information differently. And I also will take notes in the back of the book. I'll reference pages and key areas so that if ever I want to go back and look at it again, when I pull the book out, I don't have to start from page one. I go to the very back of the book and I've probably got 20 different things that were like the highlights of the book. And I can almost summarize the book in an hour or less. And so it's
Yeah.
an efficiency. But the mindset of saying, I want to absorb this so that I can apply it and help someone else changes the way I read and also changes the things I pick up and want to learn about.
Yeah, I think simply just reading, right? Like ironically, I had a coach a few years ago that said, "Stop reading books. You already know everything you need to do, just go execute." And I took that year I took that year off from reading, and it truthfully was a good year of execution, and I don't feel like I grew that much that year. And
Right.
while we tend to put a lot of information in our brain, the fact of putting information into your brain causes you to be better. And so I find reading is just a simple thing. It could just be simply 10 pages a day. Um, I don't read well at night, so I like to do it in the mornings. But what's your simple, small thing, right? Like if it's reading, I'll tell you another one. I stopped watching the news. I read the news, but I stopped watching the news.
Yeah.
And when I stopped doing that, it made a pretty profound impact on my life. Ironically or jokingly, the people around me tell me everything I need to know going on in the news, but I research what I need and I read the news about what I want to read about.
That's awesome. And I try to avoid the noise too. If it doesn't serve me or favor my energy and attitude, unless I can do something about it, I try to dismiss it. And that's a theory that I have about all whatever information that's coming to my head or heart. If I can't fix, change, solve, or cure it, I try to give it away. There's no reason to carry that baggage and that heavyweight energy. And then I'm empathetic to people that do, but I don't have to be that person unless it's by design and choice.
There you go. All right.
Last one.
Personal family relationships. What do you do? You want me to go first? I'll tell you. I
Fire away.
learned in business that when I schedule things and put them on my calendar, that's an active prioritization. So in my personal life, I intentionally buy concert tickets, I buy sporting event tickets, I buy musical tickets. So I have that prioritized on my calendar for date nights. Because I
Mm.
found if I don't put things on the calendar, the laissez-faire mentality shows up and goes, what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. Where do you want to go to dinner? I don't know. But if we have an event on the calendar, we plan around it and we go, and it creates that prioritization in my personal life.
Yeah, you stamp sacred time. And
Yeah.
if you're like me, if anyone said, "What's the most important thing in your world?" I would immediately say it's family. It's my significant other, it's my wife and my kids and my friends. And then what I would challenge you, if that's what your immediate response is, if I opened up your day planner, would it convict or acquit you? Like, would it be obvious that that truly is a priority? And I don't know that it has to be quantity because that's a trick and a trap. That's a trap door, if you will, speaking of doors. But I do think if that's really a priority, it's about quality engagement, quality time, quality focus, turning off the distraction and being present. And I know I fight with that sometimes because I just love being engaged with everything. And I have a little bit of ADD, and that's an excuse. And so what I committed to a couple of years ago, by the way, was the practice of one big holiday gift, a Christmas gift in our world for the entire family, and it's a trip. And we had our first all in. We've taken lots of trips over the years, but as the boys have grown up, and we have four boys, and they've got significant others, it our family just got bigger. We even I've got a grandbaby on the way, so I waiting to see how that impacts us in March. But last year we went out west and went up to and did a fishing trip. We went through Yellowstone and Livingston and Montana, and we went to Bozeman and we went to Grand Teton, and it was an 8 day thing. And it was instead of lots of I think everyone has enough socks, shirts, and underwear. Like let's create experiences, and that's been my mo for the. And then this year we're planning a big cruise for the entire family, and we're going to go somewhere fun, and that's our big thing.
Yeah. I love it. The other thing I put down is committing to putting your phone down at dinner time while you're having dinner. I struggle with this. I ain't gonna lie, it's the same thing. I enjoy being engaged and present and all those fun things, but the truth is that my commitment to that is a small thing that will have compounding effect. Because it kind of takes you into the five love languages, Rick. I know my wife's love language is quality time. So when I'm
Yeah.
on the phone, I'm not respecting that love language.
Well, and that is important to recognize that if you're going to show love for someone, the ultimate form or version of that love is a language or the thing that makes them happiest. And for you to assume what makes you happy makes them happy is a dangerous place to go. And you're right. And in fact, I wrote them down because I'm like, what are the five love languages? It's been a while since I thought about it. I know mine. It's words of affirmation. Just tell me I'm doing great, and then I'll keep trying to do even better. That's just me. But there's gifts, quality time, which is also my significant others, my wife's, acts of service, affirmations, and physical touch. And so just get really clear about how to deliver on the promise that makes them happiest and ask more questions. Ask for the opportunity to serve and show up. What would a scale of 1 to 10? What would the perfect date look like, or what would the perfect day together, or how can I construct as you're sitting in your Sunday night strategy? What can we do this week that at the end of the week you couldn't be happier with me as the person that adores and loves you the most?
There you go. I think there's a lot of power in Sunday nights, Rick,
Mm.
that people discredit. They tend to take Sunday nights off, yet I find Sunday nights to be very freeing from the noise. And I get a lot accomplished for the week ahead. And maybe that's just a small thing,
Yeah.
suggestion in itself. We get ready for our industry updates on Sunday nights. I do my 411 on Sunday nights, all
Yeah.
those fun things. But Rick, I mean, I'm sitting here circling back to our entire conversation today and thinking if I'm listening to this and our listeners are listening to this, How do they make sense of this? And yes, we're throwing a lot of suggestions from personal examples, but the question really is, what are the small things you could institute in your life this week that over the course of a calendar year or over the course of just time has a compounding effect that takes you to the best version of yourself, right? And you can't make the quantum leap every time, but sometimes you can make that small leap. And that small leap commitment will have a quantum leap at the end of the journey, right?
Yeah, and by the way, I had one other thought too. When you're talking about romance, relationships, family, spiritual, charity, and engaging, all it's not impossible to incorporate those with the people you love, so you get almost double value. So you're not only investing your own time, but you're doing it in a relational way that's focused on things that are important. So yeah, small things are big things when stacked end to end.
There you go.
That's
I-
it. So
I'm
we've got
dying to know our did you know?
Did you know? And I did not know. Although I will say you nailed the first one. The most important modern medical advancement in medicine was penicillin,
I
and it was
somebody's
in
told me that. That's a Jeopardy question, Rick.
I, so I might have guessed with a couple of tries. September 28th, 1928, Sir Alexander Fleming was the first to discover the power of crafting penicillin, as an antibiotic, and it's considered the queen of medicines, in fact. But here's a did you know? Until the 1940s, it wasn't purified and used in mass-produced ways. So it took a minute to bring that to market.
Okay.
Second on the list, smallpox vaccine. Big advancements, saved a lot of lives. The third is aspirin. And in itself, that's not surprising. But how long ago was aspirin first created? Not created, but found. When was aspirin first used?
Oh, we're talking acetaminophen, right? Like the
I,
Tylenol, the
yeah,
aspirin,
straight up aspirin, white
Bayer
powder.
aspirin. I don't know.
5,000 years ago, aspirin was, somebody found it and put it to work. It's been around a long, long, long time.
Wow.
5,000. So there's the did you know? And thank goodness for it, because occasionally you have one of those days and you need an aspirin.
There you go.
But not on
But
Mojo
not
Monday.
on Mojo Monday, Rick Hale.
Not